Steve Young is down, but should he get out? The San Francisco quarterback takes a couple of aspirin and talks about the serious subject of concussion. Also on the show this week, one of the previous occupants of Young's job, now comfortably ensconced in the Hall of Fame. New England's Drew Bledsoe may be the quarterback of the future, but does his future include a Super Bowl? We can't answer that, but we do ask the question. And in our main game, Jimmy Johnson goes home to Texas, although not to Dallas. Good morning. Now, there's always one big match that we can't show you on the big match because it kicks off after we go on air, the Monday night game. And last Monday's was a particularly big one, the Packers against the Cowboys. So before we do anything else this week, we're going to show you that. The banners hanging from Texas Stadium are there to remind opponents who the defending Super Bowl champions are. Green Bay, who'd lost 6 straight in Dallas coming into this game, must be getting sick of them. Their offense looked sick in the first half, unable to get past its own 45-yard line in the face of the Cowboys' pass rush. Dallas, meanwhile, managed to move the ball, but needed kicker Chris Boniol to finish off all 5 of their first-half scoring drives.
One of the best in the league, and he looks like it right there. Splits the uprights, and now splits the uprights again, and he has an early hat trick. This one is good, just good.
The Dallas defense wasn't just good, though. It was great.
Green Bay has it to the 14-yard line, and Favre gets taken down.
While Boniol was nailing 6 straight field goals for an 18-0 lead, Packers couldn't even manage one of their own. After Chris Jackie's miss, though, they finally threw a 6 to start, but Brett Favre's pass to Derek Mays came with under 2 minutes left, and with an 18-6 lead, all Dallas had to do was run out the clock.
As the clock ticks down, one more play, one more kneel down, and that'll do it.
Not quite. Dallas head coach Barry Switzer called a timeout for one more field goal attempt so that Boniol could equal the NFL record of 7 in a game.
I don't think Green Bay ought to take this the wrong way. I don't think they should, but I think they will. Well, that's their prerogative.
29-yard attempt.
They might not have been told this for a record.
And Boniol kicks it through. 7 field goals for Chris tonight.
Do we have a fight going on?
Yeah, well, they did take it the wrong way. Reggie White, Michael Irvin. Michael explaining that, hey man, it's a record. You gotta understand.
The Packers didn't, and the game ended in a fight that could well be resumed in the playoffs.
I wouldn't deny my own son, your son, or anyone else an opportunity. Life has very few moments when you can set an NFL record. And he damn sure deserved it tonight because he won the game with his foot.
Not content with just running up the score on the Packers, Dallas have added insult to injury, or rather headgear to humiliation, by taking Green Bay's incredibly successful cheesehead concept and coming up with Starhead, which looks like something a 7-year-old might come home with, having landed a minor part in the school nativity play. Anyway, they're the hot item in Dallas at the moment, and come playoff time, Texas Stadium will probably be one carelessly discarded cigarette away from a major foam rubber fire. The Packers, by the way, didn't hang around after getting beaten. They went out and signed wide receiver Andre Rison, who, to no one's surprise, couldn't get along with Jacksonville's disciplinarian head coach Tom Coughlin, and have been released by the Jaguars. Rison has a week to master the Lambeau Leap and get his number plate changed before the Packers play St. Louis this Sunday. Time for the main game now, and it's the Dolphins against the Oilers in Houston. The Oilers are emerging as one of the best young teams in the NFL, led by the youngest coach, 38-year-old Jeff Fisher, who has them chasing their first playoff spot for 3 years. On the field, Houston's youth movement is led by their number 1 draft pick, Eddie George, whose play so far this season has him in the running for Rookie of the Year. And at wide receiver, Chris Sanders, a rookie last year, is averaging 20 yards every time he catches the ball, the best in the league. Although it's not Dallas, this game is something of a homecoming for Dolphins coach Jimmy Johnson. Houston is the nearest NFL city to Port Arthur, where he was born. There's a strong family contingent in the crowd. And to keep the folks in the complimentary seats happy, Johnson's relying on a fully fit Dan Marino and a couple of rookies of his own, Zach Thomas, another Texas native on defense, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who has 10 rushing touchdowns so far this season. Jimmy Johnson's mum and dad, Aline and CW in the crowd, and probably not best pleased with the outcome of the Oilers' opening drive.
Chandler's pass for the end zone, caught for the touchdown.
We're going to take a closer look now at how the defense lines up down by the goal line. Of course, there are plenty of variations on this depending on how the offense lines up. But they all stem from the same basic consideration, which is that from the 3-yard line in, the field becomes critically short. The good news for the defense here is that the opposition doesn't have much room to pass into. The bad news is that they're just a short surge from being able to run the ball in. Consequently, teams will usually commit 8 defenders to the line of scrimmage and only leave 3 back to worry about the pass. Having an 8-man defensive front gives the defense their best chance of stopping the most likely play in this situation, the run up the middle, the second most likely, the run to the outside, and still leaves enough men back to cover the pass. The key to making it work is penetration, getting through the opposing line to disrupt the play before it develops. You can see Miami playing the classic goal line defense here against the Colts, who have the ball at the 1, 8 men up front, 3 in the end zone. On 2nd and goal, the Colts try to pound it in with brute force, but Miami just have too many bodies in the area, the beauty of an overloaded line. On 3rd down, the Colts try a quick toss to the outside. By the time the running back gets there, so have 8 defenders. On 4th down, you'll notice the Dolphins sneak a 9th player up onto the line of scrimmage, then rush everybody, and even though it's a pass, the quarterback never has time to throw it properly. The replay shows why. The offensive line simply can't account for everybody, and linebacker Zach Thomas gets through unblocked to make the play. Now, Gerback was on the field against the Cowboys, of course, in place of the injured Steve Young, and it seems that you hardly hear Young's name mentioned these days without the prefix the injured. Out of 11 games this season, he's missed all or part of 8, and what's especially worrying is the number of concussions he's picking up.
Two unique hits, helmet to helmet, like 2 strikes of lightning. And how many times does lightning strike twice? Well, here's a situation where it did.
Lightning struck first for Steve Young in the shape of Houston's Michael Barrow 4 weeks ago. But what raised all the speculation about his future in the game was that the second strike by the Cowboys' Jim Schwantz came just 2 weeks later.
When I went to the neurologist, I asked him, I think, 1,000 questions at least. I wore him out. Not only about whether I can play against the Redskins or the Ravens, but hey, how about the future? You know, I want to live for a long time. What are the risks?
Concussions in some individuals can actually be fatal if they are repetitive in a short span of time and the individual has not recovered from the earlier concussion fully.
Chris Miller has first-hand experience of the cumulative effects of concussion. Last year he was knocked out of the Rams' starting quarterback job and into early retirement at the age of 30.
When your brain moves around, it affects your nerve endings. My equilibrium was off. Just walking down the sidewalk, I felt, you know, off kilter a little bit. Taking a shower was like being in a boat in the ocean. I mean, it was pretty wild.
Young is more vulnerable to hits than most quarterbacks, ironically, because he's more mobile than most quarterbacks. Instead of using his scrambling ability to avoid punishment, though, he courts it by taking off like a running back and refusing to go down unless somebody brings him down.
Yeah, I just tell him to be smart. And, hey, when he's running, slide. You know, we all know you're a hero, and he's a great runner, and that's one of the best parts of his game. But to just get down and live to play another down, as the saying goes.
I think it will take a neurologist to say you are at risk for not having a normal life after football, and this many concussions is too many. No one has said that to him yet.
I would have to, you know, with MRI or some objective test show that we've got some predisposition, or the way I feel. If I feel like I take a hit that wasn't going to give me a concussion 5 years ago, but all of a sudden is, then I think I've got a predisposition to it, and now I have to really be concerned about that. I don't think they're great risks at this point. Now, people might shake their head and say, hey, look, playing football is too much of a risk for me. Well, they're right. But for me, playing football and the risks that I take at this point with concussions are very low, and I'm willing to take those.
Of course, a professional athlete's desire to compete can often blind him to his own best interests, but even those closest to Young balk at pointing that out to him in the middle of the playoff chase.
In the off-season, I guarantee you, Steve Young will confront the issue of multiple head injuries and his future health.
Assuming, of course, that by then, the decision hasn't already been made for him. about it for this week. If you fancy this foam starhead, by the way, I'll be accepting confidential cash offers on the Channel 4 website. In the meantime, I'm off to Washington, where a team of designers is probably already working on a foam skinhead in time for Christmas. You can see the Redskins against the 49ers on the big match at 11 o'clock on Monday night. Blitz will be back at the same time next Saturday morning. See you then.
Reluctantly crouched at the starting line.